Hello, hello. Welcome to podcasting Q&A. Yes, it is the day of the week where you get the world's shortest episode where I answer a question as fast as I can. And friends, you can ask your question too. If you go to podcastcoachingforkingdomentrepreneurs.com/voicemail, you can leave a message asking your podcasting question. If you have a podcast yourself, feel free to shout out your podcast and tell us what it's about, and I'll put it in the show and we'll answer it. So, today's question is, Kristen, what is the best day to release a podcast episode? When I'm working with new podcast clients, or whether they're just launching or they are seasoned podcast, I do get this question a lot. And to answer this question, it's hard because it's not so cut and dry. Although there are some data points, I'm always going to bring it back to ask your listener and thinking about your ideal listener in that market and in that space. So, again, if you already have a podcast and you have an established audience, reach out and ask, when do they listen to your podcast? That's really important to know. Maybe they might be listening to it at a time that you had no idea. So that is always a good thing to ask. So again, ask your listener. If you are a brand new podcaster, first of all, congratulations for saying yes to this amazing opportunity to use your voice, share your story, create a kingdom impact. Way to go. You need to really ask yourself this exact same question. What would the ideal day be for your future listener to hear your episode? Are they more inclined to listen through the work week, or maybe it's more on the weekends when they have a little bit more free time? Now, with that being said, data does show that the best time to, in general, put out a podcast is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, because it is in the heart of routines for most people around the globe. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But also ask yourself and your audience, is this the best time for me to release an episode? So not only is it up to what is your listeners' rhythms of life, but also what's your rhythms of life? What are the days that you can um, promote on social media, or write that newsletter, or reach out and talk about the episode that's coming out? Think about those things. The other thing too, when you're thinking about your listener, what are those things that they typically are doing? Is it a good time for them to listen in the mornings on their way to work or to a school drop-offs? Or is it in the middle of the day during a lunchtime? Maybe they're walking during lunch. Or is it in the evenings when they're making dinner, or they're doing the soccer thing, or they're working out at the gym? Who knows? We've got to ask our listener. So, again, we're going to ask our listener, and we're also going to think about, what is the best way for me to promote my podcast episode each week or every other week? On this day, I'm going to be able to give some energy into promoting and telling people about my podcast. So, I want you to think about your person. Who is that person? It may be an executive business coach who listens to your podcast every Tuesday morning as he is driving in on his commute. And that pops up at fresh inside of his Apple feed. Or it could be, I'm thinking of another podcaster that we have in our podcast management production lineup, and she has a daily podcast for moms. So she is releasing early in the morning, so it is readily available for her mamas who need to listen to encouragement every morning before their kids get up. So, with that said, just remember, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are typically the greatest time to release an episode, but also come back to, what does your listener need and what do you need? And again, it's going to be a little bit of an experiment for you. And you can always play with that. Just make sure that you let your audience know that you don't just like switch from I'm a Monday podcast, now I'm a Thursday podcast. You got to let your people know, always communicate, always, always, always. And last thing is to show up, be consistent. And, we are all humans of habit, or creatures of habit. We are humans. This is true. uh, we are creatures of habit. So we want to align with the rhythms of our people that we're called to serve. And you want to be a part of their week. You want to fold into that rhythm that they're doing. So, you guys, that's the answer to what's the best day to release a podcast episode. I hope you find that helpful. And if you have any questions around podcasting, uh, please send in your questions. If you go to podcast coaching for kingdomentrepreneurs.com/voicemail, you can leave that message, that question, and I would be happy to answer that. And if you need to get started on launching a podcast or growing your podcast, reach out to me. The links are in the show notes. I would love to do a one-on-one phone call with you or Zoom and get connected with you. All right, take care. Have a great week.